At the start of the movie, we can see a preacher conducting a funeral service in a church for a 39-year-old Cody. His mother and brothers are all present to pay their last respects. Respect turns to insult when the pastor passes judgment on Cody, saying he was a bad person when he was alive, and his wish now could be that his brothers would totally deviate from that path. The pastor accuses the mother, Mrs. Linda, of not training her boys right and letting them cause havoc in town. Mrs. Linda becomes fed up with all the insults, so she orders her boys to pick up Cody's corpse. She blames the pastor's daughter, who is married to her son Dallas, for trying to make them fit into the society that will always judge them. Commotion ensues in the church as Cody's brothers pick him up from the casket as instructed by their furious mom. Ava, the pastor's daughter, tries to calm the situation, but Mrs. Linda rebukes her for embarrassing them. Dallas, her husband, wouldn't even look her in the eyes. After the service, Ava meets up with her best friend, Rona. She'd come to the funeral with her husband, Jim. Rona tries to make Ava see that the Bertrams are totally in the wrong, but Ava doesn't think Rona should be giving straight shots at this time because the timing is obviously not right. Jim, who happens to be the best friend of Dallas, Ava's husband, decides to go check on him and his family. But Ava tells him not to worry, as it's her duty as the wife to check up on her husband. Ava goes over to meet her parents. Her father, Clarence the pastor, apologizes for the scene he caused today. He advises his daughter that it's time for her to draw the line and end things with Dallas, but she tells them she's trying to be a good wife and she isn't giving up on her husband anytime soon. Her parents assure her that they will always support her, no matter the situation. That night, Ava goes over to meet Dallas. She tries to comfort him, but he yells at her, saying she had set his family up by inviting them to the church. He also blames her for always trying to change him and not love him for who he is. He becomes angry and chases her away from his truck. Ava goes back in her car, waiting to see if she can still talk to Dallas when he's all calm. But Dallas leaves with his brothers. Ava decides to follow them. She meets up with the brothers at a local bar. She begs Morris, the eldest one, to ask Dallas to come back home. Just as she was heading out, she met up with her childhood friend, Benji. After they exchanged pleasantries, Dallas and his brothers came over to confront him. They had beaten up Benji once when they were still kids. They try to beat him up again, but the pub owner chases them away with a shotgun. As they try to leave, Morris engages in a fight with Dallas because he wanted to drive, even when he was drunk. Later that night, Ava wakes up to see Dallas in the toilet. He sits there, blaming himself for killing his dad. He tells Ava that he isn't worth any good and she shouldn't be with him. But Ava comforts him, saying she has seen the good in him, and she will always be there for him. The next morning, she prepares breakfast. As she tries to leave for work, Dallas comes up with an attitude again and refuses to speak to her. Ava goes to pick up her best friend Rona, as they both work in the same company. Rona apologizes for being insensitive during the funeral, but she still advises Ava that she's too good to be putting up with Dallas. Ava doesn't seem to agree with this. Later that night, after work, Ava and Dallas are supposed to meet up with Jim and Rona for dinner. Ava promises to be fast with her preparations. She just wants to have a shower, as she has just returned from work. But as soon as she finished dressing up, Dallas had gone without her. Rona is angry that Dallas left Ava at home, so she goes outside to wait for her friend. Ava seemed not to be too upset with it, as she tried to play nicely with Dallas. But he yelled at his wife, drawing the attention of everyone else. He continues to shout at Ava in the restaurant and then demands a divorce. Jim tries to talk sense into his friend, but he walks out of the restaurant. Ava goes back home with her friend Rona. On their way, she tells Rona that she has given her best years to Dallas, and now she is getting to 40. Which means no other man would look at her twice. Rona disagrees, saying she hasn't even lived her best years yet, and she is still very beautiful. When they got home, Rona gave Ava an envelope that contained all the bad things Dallas had done to her since they got married. Although she doesn't want to accept it, Rona tells her that it will help her ease through her heartbreak. Ava decides to take a week off at her parents' house. She tells them about how Dallas wants to divorce her despite everything she had done for him. Her parents comfort her, saying she tried her best. The next few days, Ava gets back on track and exercises to heal from her pains. Ava's mom breaks into tears after she reads the note containing all the bad things that Dallas had done to Ava. She blames herself for not being there for her daughter. Ava tries to console her, saying it wasn't her fault. They promise not to tell Clarence about the note because he would go over to confront Dallas. Just then, Clarence persuades her to follow him to the feed store, just like old times. At the store, Ava comes across Benji. It is revealed that Clarence had actually set the meeting up, but he's disappointed because Benji didn't bring up his best game, as Ava wasn't really interested in listening to him. The next day at church, Ava's dad preaches about divorce and letting go, which makes Ava teary. After the service, she confronts her mom about it, but she tells her that Clarence didn't plan any of it, and it could be God's way of sending her a message to start doing better. Just then, Benji walks up to her. He tries to talk to her, but then Ava isn't in the mood once more. Benji gathers up courage again. He approaches her, saying she could talk to him about anything, as he understands the feeling of getting a divorce because he went through the same feelings during his time with his ex-wife. Ava shuts him off by saying she isn't ready for anything. That night, she confronts her parents for pushing Benji on her. She explains to them that seeing Benji wouldn't stop her from going through the pain she's going through. Her father then decides to show her videos of when she was single and when she got married to Dallas. She seems so much brighter when she was all alone than when she got married. He advises her that she doesn't need to prove anything to him anymore, because their whole family is built on misery. The next day, Ava calls Rona. She tells her that she feels different and she's ready to come back to work. Rona's all happy that Ava has returned to her old self and promises to help her ease through everything. That night, her parents brought her to the fun fair where she met Benji. She decides to walk up to him. After a brief conversation, they take a walk away from the fairgrounds. During a one-on-one conversation, she takes whiskey as they reminisce about old times and how things could have turned out differently if they were still together back then. Getting deep into the moment, she tells Benji to make love to her, but he refuses to take advantage of her, saying that if he did that, it would be only to get even with Dallas. He wants Ava's mind to be on him, and he's willing to wait till whenever. The next morning, she had gotten herself and she asked for her number so he could reach out to her once in a while, but she refused to give him, saying she doesn't have room for anyone in her life right now. Meanwhile, a picture of Benji and Ava at the fun fair is sent to Dallas. He becomes really angry as he sets out to confront Ava at the bank where she works. He embarrassed Ava, yelling that she had better come with her lawyer to sign the divorce papers. Ava goes over to sign the divorce papers. She is now willing to let go without regrets. When Dallas sees that she signed the papers with so much joy, he becomes mad and justifies his action, saying she is cheating on him with Benji. Meanwhile, Rona takes Ava to her house, where she throws her a surprise divorce party. She is filled with joy as Rona introduces her to Benji, whom she secretly invited to the party. Ava decides to vibe to the party as she dances with Benji. Meanwhile, Jim is told that Dallas is outside his home, so he goes out to stop Dallas from ruining the party. When Dallas discovered that Ava was present at the party, he became disappointed that Jim took sides with Ava, so he zoomed off. Ava brings Benji to her apartment. She thanks him for not taking advantage of her the last time. She also continues by saying if they are to go on this journey together, it won't be for anything but just sex, because she is clocking 40 soon. Benji shuts her up with a kiss as the two make out and have sex. The next morning, just as Ava is preparing for work, she is shocked to see Dallas at the dining table eating cereal. Ava orders him out of her house, but he tells her that he's willing to give her another shot. She lets him know that she is no longer the scared wife who always wanted to please him, and he should stay out of her life. Dallas doesn't listen. He tells her that he is coming to stay for good. Just as he goes upstairs, he sees Benji, and then gets into an intense fight with him. Benji is strong enough to pin him down till he's knocked out while Ava drags his body out of her house with anger. Later that day at work, Rona notices Dallas's truck parked outside the bank. His face is all covered with bruises, so she calls her husband, Jim, to inform him of the situation. When Rona learns that Dallas came to Ava's house earlier that day, she tells Ava to get a restraining order, but she claims she's fine and isn't worried about Dallas. On the other hand, Benji gets reports concerning his animals, so he rushes over to his farm. Mr. Clarence had seen all the animals dying, and the cause of death could be traced to poison. Benji realizes that Dallas is the only person who could exact this revenge on him. When Mr. Clarence learns that Dallas had come to Ava's house this morning, he becomes furious and heads out to Atlanta. Meanwhile, Jim tries to stop Dallas from stalking Ava at the bank. Dallas tells him that Ava had been cheating on him the whole time with Benji, but Jim disagrees, saying Ava was a good wife, and he knows it. Dallas is furious that Jim would pick Ava over him. He leaves angrily as he continues to plot his revenge against Ava. Benji calls Ava to inform her of what happened, and to let her know that her dad is on his way to Atlanta. With Dallas acting crazy, Ava decides to get a restraining order. Dallas goes to the supermarket, where Ava's mom would always visit every Tuesday. He attacks her and accuses her of plotting with her daughter to disrespect his marriage. She ran away from him while he tried to hurt her. Ava and Rona meet Mr. Clarence changing the locks to the house and putting up extra security cameras. He gives Ava a shotgun to use for protection against Dallas. He then leaves, as he needs to get home before dark. Dallas interrupts a double date between Jim and Benji and Rona. Rona, who is fed up with Dallas, orders him to leave immediately as she threatens to call the police. But Dallas ruins their night by telling Rona that Jim has been hitting on a girl called Kelly for years, and her marriage life isn't perfect either. Just as Rona calls the police, Dallas leaves the building. A perfect night comes to a stop as Rona confronts Jim in regards to what Dallas had said. Jim tells her that it was just one time, and he told her about it. Mr. Clarence goes back home to get his guns as he proceeds to confront Dallas. Although Jean, Ava's mom, didn't tell him about what Dallas did at the supermarket, he got to know through eyewitnesses. Jean is worried that something could happen to her husband, so she calls Ava to tell her about Clarence. Meanwhile, Clarence goes over to Dallas's house. He warns him not to ever go near his wife or daughter, or else he will blow his brains out. Unfortunately, Dallas and his brothers shoot him in the leg and gang up on him and beat him up. Ava and Benji come just in time as they rescue him and take him to the hospital. Ava triggers Dallas. She calls him on the phone, telling him about how good Benji is in bed, and how he could satisfy her in ways Dallas couldn't possibly imagine. She lures him into her apartment, saying she's going to meet Benji, and they will make love like she has never done before. The scene switches to the hospital, and Benji notices that Ava is nowhere to be found. He calls Rona and Jim to help him with the search. At Ava's house, a jealous Dallas shows up to attack Benji and Ava, but he's surprised to see just Ava. Ava tells him that she was a good woman to a fault, and she never disrespected him for one day. Dallas brings out a gun to threaten her, but she continues talking. She thought she could change him, but Dallas obviously doesn't want to be saved. She riles him up by saying she is having a good time with Benji, and he's so much better than him. This makes Dallas hit her so hard, so she calls the police to report the attack. When Dallas tries to attack her again, she picks up a shotgun from her shelf. She warns him not to come closer, but he does, so she shoots him, letting him drown in his pool of blood. Mr. Clarence is discharged from the hospital as the Bertrams mourn yet again.